And what is up, guys? Technical Tinkers here, back checking in on the vlog, the 3D print operation. So I own a business and I got this big warehouse with a lot of extra space, and I thought, hey, maybe I can start 3D printing things and spin this up into a small business, but I'm doing it here at home first and kind of sampling all the different realms of 3D printing to see what works. I'm a total novice at this, and this is just exhibition. This is not instructional in any way. So if you just want to follow me along in this process to see what I think works and doesn't work and my thoughts along the way, be sure to subscribe to the channel. Now, I make a ton of rookie moves, so if you want to cast hate on me for effing up and doing that kind of thing, engagement's engagement, baby. So let me know in the comments below. So what am I working on today? Well, we had a sale this morning on one of the big Hornet nests, so I'm replenishing my stock there. Got it on the Soval, haven't done it on the Soval yet, and I have never done it with 0% infill, but it's coming out pretty good. Quality looks great on it, to be honest with you. Got the big section of the Glock up here. It's starting to get to the point on the supports where I start getting a little nervous about those supports failing. Why is this one stuck? Okay, so this one ran out of filament, so I need to replace the filament on there. And the back section of the slide, finishing up over here. We had our Don't Tread on Me wall placard thing, our latest version of it come out. We're gonna take a look at that here in a second. So I'm gonna change the filament and then we'll run in there and look at it. All right, so here is the front section of the slide. I did this with normal supports instead of the organics I normally run. Some kind of surface damage, I guess, probably because I'm running it at a pretty hot temperature. But overall, the detail came out okay, so I'm pleased with that. And then, over here, our Don't Tread on Me. This is our latest edition. Been getting a lot of feedback and suggestions on this. So this model, again, to recap for those unfamiliar, this model was for like laser engravers. And so the file was huge. It had approximately 17 trillion faces. That's an approximate figure. I did simplify the model and I extruded it down to give it more depth because there were a lot of floating areas in this. So I did work on the model, but then when I started painting it, it's so complex, just filling in these areas didn't really work. There's so many faces, they're so interconnected. It took a lot of hand painting, and someone was telling me like, oh, if it takes more than 30 minutes, then don't do it. So that is actually good advice. Sorry to do that voice, affect that voice, that dumbass voice that I do, because that was actually great advice. So in the future, when I get models like this, I'll probably just simplify them down as much as I possibly can before I start painting, but I have so much sunken time in this. The only thing that's really a bugaboo right now are these black areas, which I believe I have finally corrected. And I just painted the surface of the text. I need to go a little deeper on a couple areas, but I think after that, it's good to go. Because overall, the model looks pretty good. It's got this nice 3D effect to it. And, if people are into this, then maybe that's worth it to them. But I see the light at the end of the tunnel on this. And I think this one's about ready to go. Another thing I've been working on too is revisiting the RC car, because that shows a lot of potential and promise. Really what I wanted to do is make something that I could use to lure course my dog, because my dogs like to chase these things, but I want to outfit it in a way to where all the innards are sort of contained more safely so the dog can't get at them, and just kind of tune it up as a lure coursing sort of thing. So that's kind of like a tall order, and it really needs to be done in like Fusion. So I'm kind of trying to learn Fusion versus Tinkercad, because Tinkercad is so fast. For 99% of the stuff I do, it works great. But this is a little more complex. So I'm trying to learn Fusion at the same time. And my thinking is to make something to start more simply. Instead of trying to think of a comprehensive thing, it's like, let's start with the shell. So my thinking is to kind of remove components of this, because people with RC cars are taking their stuff apart all the time anyway, and make it, instead of trying to adapt a shell, because the shell sits on these little standoffs here, these go in here, and the shell clips on here. So I was like, you know what, let's design the shell without these so I can keep it low profile, I can lock it all in and kind of make it safe. And I was thinking probably try to put it on some kind of hinge mechanism to where the shell doesn't come off the car. Because when you swap these out, you take the whole shell off, change out the battery, and put the shell on and clip it all in place. But if I had something that was sort of semi-permanently affixed via a hinge mechanism, and it just kind of snaps together in the middle with like maybe one hinge pin, that might be a better sort of product. But that's kind of like, I got to take a lot of steps leading up to it. Another thing too, someone called me gross for my character models. What year is it, dude? It's current year. You got to get with the program. but I have discontinued, or not discontinued, but I've sort of shelved the character models. I'm still gonna work on them and like kind of put them on the Etsy if I can get them right, but I won't really feature it as much in the videos because a lot of people seem to have an issue with it. And no judgment. Don't cast judgment upon me. I'll still continue to do that. So if you want to see the character models, you can just check my Etsy, I guess. But I won't feature those as much unless they're more so PG-13 character models, I suppose. But again, my thinking with them is print them, and if I get like a really good example, a really good specimen, then I'll put it on the Etsy as just like quantity one available, and if it sells, then I'll go ahead and make another one. Instead of trying to get it perfect, list it, and then someone buys it, and then the next time I go to print it, for some reason I can't reproduce the result. And that's kind of the same thing I'm doing with these large models as well. Hopefully I can get the big boy, or the big version of little boy up on Etsy today too. I've got the Glocks separated out into their own products based on color, and then hopefully when the next one finishes printing, we can do it in the other colors that I offer, because I have like pink and like a gray lower, and I think I'd have to look at what other colors Glocks come in, because for me personally, I'm a green guy, but a lot of people like them in the khaki or just the black. So that's what's going on with the midday update. I'm gonna kick it over to my future self tomorrow morning to see how it all turned out. Right, and it is 100% the next morning, checking in to see what kind of happened here. So we've got silence, well, relatively quiet. Got the one section of the slide here all done. I haven't looked at any of this yet. I save it for my organic, real response when it comes off. So this looks pretty good. This is the back section of the Glock slide. All these normal supports, using normal supports now. Have to peel those off and take a look at it to see how it came out. Someone mentioned doing functional prints for Starlink stuff. I have a Starlink. I have it as a redundancy. And so what I did was I just downloaded a real super simple router bracket, printed it like 1% infill just to kind of get the shape, because the one that was online was in 2 parts, because this can't fit on most printers. I'm like, well, I got a bigger, these Cobras are 450 millimeter. So I printed it as one piece. And so my thinking is what I'll do is see if the router fits, see what improvements I can make, and then just design a new one off of this, like looking at it, so I'm not using the other model. Because, for functional prints, that's really the only path that you can take other than just sitting around trying to think up a new idea. The router is one shape, and so if I make something that's going to look very similar to this, so I'm just going to take the measurements off of this, and that way it's not me using the previous model. Let me know what you think about that in the comments below, because a lot of people saying, like, over and over again, I get the same comment, and again, I know a lot of people are coming in, a lot of people are new, but saying, like, you should just do your own designs, and, like, I understand that completely. But I'm making content here, and how am I supposed to come up with my own designs? Sit quietly in a room, just... Is this what you want to watch? You want to watch this for 20 minutes a day? How about that? Not very interesting. So my thinking is like, look at other designs that work, twist and tool them, try to make a better mousetrap, so to speak. Got the lower section of the Glock here. Now, I did the filament change on this one. Got a little separation going on here. I'm not sure why I did that. Again, like it's, some printers, like I'm noticing that now. I've never really had this issue before, but I think that's certainly correctable. That's gluable because this section here on the trigger kind of mates up with that one over there. And so I don't think it's gonna be that big of an issue to correct. And let's see, I don't even know if this one's gonna come off the plate. The grip section of the Glock, finally got a successful print on that. I'm not talking about character models anymore. Mum's the word, because people don't like things of this nature. So respect, you don't want to see it, go to church, pray on it. Doing a character model here for my own personal enjoyment. And got this is the first Hornet nest I've done. Now the Hornet nest is an original design. I designed this. It is by far and away my best selling original design. It's my best selling design besides the crypto mining stuff. So this is like a semi-functional print. It's a fake Hornet nest. If you're unfamiliar, if you put up a fake Hornet nest, it keeps wasps and other hornets from building their nests nearby within like a certain radius. How it works, I don't know. I imagine they just roll up and they're like, this is our hood. And they're like, okay. And they back off. And I think that's the principle of how it works. But we sold one yesterday. And so I like to keep one of these in stock. And I've never printed one on the Soval before. And it came out great. No infill. Nice and hard, nice and sturdy. The lower lines look fantastic on it. By far and away the best Hornet nest I've ever printed. So good job, Sobol. And finally, we had a catastrophic failure. It'd be me and a daily vlog without a catastrophic failure. So I got the notification that filament failed to feed, and then when I came to check on it, I'm like, what's this? This shouldn't be here. How does this happen? And so I look back here, the filament just straight up sent it straight through the PTFE tube, totally split. That's just from the AMS pulling filament in, out, in, out. I feel like there's got to be like a more robust sort of tubing, but PTFE tubing is cheap, so it's easy to replace. But this is kind of I lost my balance. Did you catch that on camera? Did you get that, camera guy? Anyway, I'm gonna swap that. Ooh, that got the tickle in me. I'm gonna swap that out here, take all this stuff off the printers, get some new stuff going. Got some stuff in the queue, in the chamber lined up. As far as everything else goes, still working on some ideas for the RC car. Again, was mentioning in the earlier part of the video, trying to kind of reimagine what the shell would look like as like sort of a dual clamshell that like affixes into the model. Got to get this online today, the big little boy atomic device. Haven't put that on the Etsy yet. Got to make sure I like word that very carefully. And now that all the Glock parts are finished, hopefully I can get them glued together, or at least start the process. Got this new JB Weld. It's like super glue with a light activator in it. And I tried this with this light, this little UV curing light. I tried it with regular super glue, cyanoacrylate, and the light doesn't work. So I guess they got some kind of additive in here, and it works great for like, if you're just trying to like essentially tack weld, you just put a little bit on a certain point, you cure it, it cures immediately. And that holds the model in place long enough for you to like glue the rest of it, or for the rest of the glue to set, instead of like you gluing it and just making sure it stays perfectly still while the glue cures, because it does take a few hours for it to like fully cure. Obviously the light is not going to work if the parts are flat and you're gluing them like flat to flat, because there's no way to get the light in there, but it works great as a little tack welding solution. And again, spending some time just replying to comments and doing more research and trying to think of new things. I think there's some potential in the Starlink thing. There's a lot of Starlink devices supporting companion type functional prints for Starlinks and things like that. Currently on my Etsy, I have an Orbi shelf, because I have Orbis in my house, and it's just like a little shelf that sits on the wall. But there's a lot of them on there, so it's really just going to be me about coming in with a very simple design, but maybe I can market it in a way, take better pictures, more attractive pictures, maybe offer free shipping, or just bring the pricing down to a point where it's attractive to some people. Maybe offer it in like a multi-pack. I don't know that people would need a multi-pack of Starlink router brackets, but it's that kind of thing that I think is really probably the only way to go with functional prints, other than coming up with my own ideas. But again, there's no linear progression for coming up with your own ideas. It's very easy to say, just come up with your own ideas. Well, just come up with a way to make $1 billion. Why don't you do that? Because it's like, well, okay, how? It's through doing all this other random stuff that those sort of ideas crop up, in my opinion. That's the only way to go about it, is through the storm, through the hurricane. Perhaps the perfect combination of factors happen to where all the parts coalesce and a wristwatch is made in the heart of the storm. If that makes any sense whatsoever. I know it doesn't. It's early. Anyway, that's what's going on today. Let me know what you're working on. Let me know what you're doing in the comments below. Be sure to like the video, because it's the nice thing to do. Appreciate all the comments, both good and bad. Subscribe for more content like this. I'm The Technicals. See you next time.